I recently watched a YouTube video titled "You'll See This When You're in Between Phases of Life, bracket, then never again." It was less than 3 minutes long and filmed on an iPhone by a guy who's simply on a walk. In this video, he addresses feelings of being stuck in life and how it is important to recognize being in between phases or seasons, a time of transition and uncertainty. He says such a season of being in this time period is very much that, a season, one that will also pass, just like the good times and the bad times. And how you get out of it is by simply taking action so as to not fall into stagnation. So it got me thinking for my own life, because this video really had resonated with me. I spent a lot of time in the last year working on myself after my breakup with my first ever girlfriend, thinking about all the things that went wrong and that I was personally at fault for, and how I could change and improve as a person as a result. It was around September of last year. I'd just come off stage for my natural bodybuilding competitions, and if you didn't know, usually when a person spends a prolonged period on a diet, their hormones can borderline shut down. Specifically, the biological human needs, if you know what I'm saying. So when you start eating again, those hormones come back, and everything that you can imagine with it. You start to feel more, for example. I figured I spent a good amount of time actively working on myself, that I was ready to get back out there. So I did, for about 3 months or so. I went out and had some quote-unquote fun. I'd say it was around New Year's when I'd found myself in a position that I didn't really expect myself to be in again so soon. Firstly, I realized that maybe the whole hookup culture wasn't my thing, but that mainly I still had some unresolved stuff to work on. Since then, although I've definitely still managed to go out and enjoy life as I should, being able to let go and spend time around people I truly love, I've still been actively going through the same motions as one would after a breakup. The biggest one being not quite actively looking to get girls, and more so be content with being single. Maybe that's all not necessarily by my own choice. That being said, I think quite a common theme that has subtly been there is this idea that although progress is being made in my own life in general, whether that be academics or in the gym, not a lot, I would say, is really happening that's exciting. What I mean by this is that, when you're younger and feels like there's always something going on, something major, something life-changing, it just hasn't quite felt like that lately. And that's where we circle back to the beginning of this video. I'm starting to recognize that perhaps I might currently be in that season of transition myself. See, in the last month or two, I've had this resounding feeling that I've finally managed to close out a lot of the negative self-perpetuating cycles of self-sabotage and bad habits. That chapter is finally over and behind me. Finally seeing progression in my academic career, for example, in which being I'm now finally almost done with college, or no longer subscribing to being prone to negative self-talk. Usually that comes from consuming negative content on social media. being careful of what and who I expose myself to, both online and in real life, so as to not lose control of my emotions and perceptions of things, and being able to finally grasp and set my own standards and view of things. But, and it's a big but, I've started to realize that even though such cycles are now over, and when I look out beyond the horizon, all I see are the good things that will happen in the near future, such things may not be happening so soon as I might think. From all the self-help books I've read, podcasts and videos I've consumed, I think I'm currently now in what Chris Williamson refers to as the lonely chapter. See, although I feel like I've done a lot of work on myself and I'm finally proud of the person I am today, I recognize that now I've a different set of challenges to face. One such as I'm beginning to maybe outgrow certain relationships. And I wouldn't say this lightly either, because the people I currently allow myself to engage with, I would consider all to be close friends and people I really like. Some of these friends I've known since early childhood or school. See, it isn't so much as that they've become people I'm starting to dislike, but more so that our paths are now starting to diverge. And maybe you, the viewer, might be able to relate to this. But you know, when you begin to feel so frustrated that you aren't in the position you want to be, or you aren't the successful person fulfilling the dreams and goals that you've set for yourself, it becomes all that much harder when those around you don't necessarily understand or want to go down the same path. Isolation is tough, it's painful, and I absolutely recognize that it's necessary. Because as you all know, when you go through a breakup, all of a sudden this person that was ever so present in your life is now gone. And you have to relearn what it's truly like to be alone again, with your own thoughts, or doing things that you might have done before, or just accept this time you're alone. They aren't a text or a call away like they once were. But it isn't so much as the isolation part that gets to me now, because I'll be honest, I love it when it's just me now. A lot of the times I have the most fun when I'm by myself, if I'm being honest. This video is perhaps almost like a reflection of sorts. It's me starting to realize that even though nothing major might be happening right now, that this period is just as important. Like when you need the lows to enjoy the highs, you need periods to be at peace and acceptance. See, I believe it's during these times that sets you up for the next chapter. In order for you to be successful and to prosper, you need to be ready and a person deserving of it. Just make sure to remember to keep doing the things you should be doing, and it'll all eventually work out. That anyone who's ever been successful too has had to go through such times. But as always, nothing changes if nothing changes. And if you don't utilize this period of inactivity by you yourself being inactive and not continuing to take a step forward each and every day, it'll all have been to waste. This video is more so not just me reflecting and recognizing as such, but also maybe hoping other people out there can sympathize and resonate with how I feel, and perhaps to let you guys know that you aren't alone if you feel such way. finish it off with one of my favorite quotes being, "Yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, but today is a gift." And that is why it is called the present. Catch you in the next one.